Good morning. So basically I decided to make a video. Every week or 2 weeks I get a box or two of material ranging from photographs, books, catalogs, magazines, lots of magazines, all in different languages. All of this is part of the research I do and building our archive of primary material on the history of 20th century Egypt, but also more specifically about the art. Anyway, so last week I got two boxes, and it's always like Christmas time. I got two boxes, and usually the seller leaves them and I have the time to go through them and select what I take. Usually 5% of what is coming is of interest. The remainder I give it back, and usually it tackles a lot of subjects that are very interesting but are not really important or of less interest to me. I mean, you have tourism, business, corporate life, a lot about ancient Egypt. So I select everything that's related to art, but also a lot of political material. Now, last week, there was a pile that was extremely interesting. So it was delivered like this. So this is how it looked like. It was a whole pile of material, very old. And the gentleman who brought them has no idea what it is, really. It's in French. So what caught my attention was the title it's from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of France, Ministère des Affaires étrangères. It's titled Documents Diplomatiques, diplomatic documents, and they're all dated between 1882, 83 up to 1885. Now, these are very precious documents. Now, let's look at this one, for example. This is the most interesting one, and I am sorry, I'm just using my hands and going through the papers just to show you as I received them. This is the kind of condition they are in. But this is the pile that's very interesting. Affaires d'Égypte, Affairs of Egypt. Now, if you go through, these are original documents. If you go, this is 1882, and if you go through, here, just for you to see the date, 1882, and if you go through the list of what's inside, you have the name of ambassadors, very important people sending documents to France, to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in France. And these are French ambassadors or political or ministers who happen to be in Egypt, and they're sending updates on what's going on. Now we're talking 1882, so very important year, or important period in general. And what's interesting is that you read about elections, law about elections, you read about the project of constitution, you read a lot about how Arabi was seen as a threat. So they call it, there's a whole correspondence titled The Plot Against Arabi. So they're plotting against Ahmad Arabi, and they realized that this gentleman was a big threat to their plans, the foreign powers' plans, to conquer, colonize, put their hands on very important strategic areas, not just the whole country, The Bedouins is a very big common topic. They send a lot of inspectors to follow up. Now, also, there's a lot of political unrest. For example, they're talking about unrest and protest in favor of Ismail Besha, a lot of it. So the two key names or the two key topics really is Arabi, who they call Arabi Bey, and Khedive Ismail's support amongst the people. They're very angry that Reuters, the agency, which already was obviously working, I didn't know that, in 1882, and they are basically the title of the correspondence. It is regrettable that Reuters affirms that there will be no intervention from Western powers. So basically, they are angry that Reuters is lying or giving the wrong indication. They're talking about touching or getting a feeling from the English as towards to the French project. I mean, this is incredible. One whole correspondence, about like 20 different letters, are about a newspaper, a French newspaper that was actually published in Egypt by the French team that was on site, and the newspaper was called Bosphore, and obviously it was very much pro-French, and at the decision of the Khedive, the Egyptian government decided to stop it and to illegalize it, so it was no more legal to have it published in Egypt, and the whole team of French nationals working for the French government were sending back and forth letter and meeting with the Khedive and the entire Ministry of Affairs in Egypt to find ways to put pressure on Le Bosphore being republished again, obviously. So it's a very early propaganda, pro-French propaganda. Lots of meetings with the Khedive. The Bedouins are very unhappy, mécontentement des Bédouins. Officers, Circassian officers. Our agent, so they're clearly talking about spies here. Hey, I mean, these are very important documents. They are extremely precious. And here they are. They were in this box with lots of course, other important material. You know, this is our history. But nothing compared to this. I mean, they are not in the best condition. But hey, this tells us the entire inside story of what the French plan to do, were thinking about, how they approached the whole British invasion. They talk about Alexandria, the bombardment of Alexandria, the plans and the very delicate or subtle ways of talking about the British bombardment of Alexandria, how many boats, naval, you know, so I don't know if you call it boat, but you know, the army, the British army going to Alexandria. This is all in here. This is all in here, and this is pretty much first-hand documentation, because these are the original or copies of the original letters and correspondence between the different parties. I mean, one of the ambassadors' letter is a gentleman who was very much familiar and present during the 1891 and the 1892 exhibitions that took place in Cairo, what we can call the first salon in Egypt. So we looked, if you look at it without going through these documents, this gentleman was a patron of the arts, a great supporter of launching Western type of art into Egypt, and he was very available. Even the first catalog and the second catalog of both exhibitions have his name as one of the supporters. And here he is, he's writing about how the invasion of Alexandria by the British and how we have to put back the Bosphore in place, so we spread a French, you know, pro-French mindset. I mean, once you dig into all of this, you start reading a completely different side of the story. So I thought of sharing this precious documents with you. So this is how it looks like. I know I'm using my hands, they're in very bad shape, but this is really how I got them. And I put them together because they were spread in the boxes randomly, as though it's not one document. Okay, so here we are.